What's up, everybody? It's Ned Bellavance, Ned1313 on Twitter, and welcome to the Daily Check-In for November 30th, 2020. It is Monday, and that means it's Professional Development Monday, Career Development Monday, and I have a very special guest with us here today, giving his best career advice ever. It is Mr. Larry Smith Jr. Welcome to the show, Larry. What's going on, brother?
Hey man, how you doing, Ned? Good to have me, and good to be here. Good to have me. You know, all the good things. Still trying to wake up and have some coffee.
Oh yeah, I feel that. It's raining outside today, and that
It
just
is
means
here
it's going to
too,
be
yeah.
like a sleepy day. It's so hard to get motivated when I can just hear the pitter patter of the rain. It's
Exactly.
like,
If we had a tin roof, we'd be sound
I know.
asleep.
It would be take a nap, take a nap.
Exactly. Getting nothing done.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to have you on the show because I know you've had an interesting career and it's evolved in different ways. So why don't we start out with just sort of laying the groundwork? Who are you? What do you do? And then we'll get into your best career advice.
Oh man, where do I start? Yeah, so I mean, I've been around the block many times, obviously. I started out, just to give a background, just to set up the kind of the context where we're going with this is, I'm in college years, started as a developer, writing code. That was all I did. And that started way back even before college. But anyway, I took a turn at that point, went down the infrastructure path and started learning all things infrastructure, Novell, and that, NT, Windows stuff, networking, firewalls, switching, routing, blah, 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 security, virtualization, you name it. So going down that path, 5, 6 years ago, I'm trying to remember, 5, 6 years ago, I think I finally started going back to, hey, I want to get back into the coding world. I want to get back into writing code and automation and things like that, and kind of take what I've learned over the years from an infrastructure perspective. And number one, put those to a practice that I could actually build a foundation to do automation and things like that. And you and I have talked about this on previous podcasts and things. But also really what I wanted to do was to kind of get a foundation of what it looked like from kind of going that path that I took, and also be able to teach others. And that's really hard, really, really hard, right? I mean, it's really hard. So anyway, that kind of evolved into several different positions that I had over the years. And then I guess in 2017, I was working at a big, large enterprise, and we were working on massive automation project, multi-data center and all that. And I met a couple folks. And if you want to pause here before I get into that part, let me know, or I'll just kind of go with it and you just.
I think that's the perfect tee up, because we have these moments in our career where we meet someone, or sometimes someone just says like an offhand comment and a light bulb goes off. It gets the gears turning and you're like, oh, I should do this other thing. Or sometimes you actually have like a sit down with a mentor and they're like, you should stop doing that and start doing this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm curious. I think you're setting up to one of those moments where you're like, ding, I should do this other thing. So what was the setup, and then what was the light bulb?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. So like I say, about 2017, I had started working at like I said, big, large enterprise doing a lot of advanced things. And I've talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But I met a great set of folks. One of the things that I learned at that particular time in that position was technology wasn't as interesting to me, right? Technology was one of those things from an automation, like I say, advanced automation, and just all the things that we had to do as part of that project. I switched, and I cared more about, and this sounds wrong, but it's not the way I mean it, is it was the people part, right? It was the people that I learned, that I met, new kind of relationships that were created during this time. I was only at that job like 10 months. The people that I met during that time were career changing. And I say that because there were several of us that kind of came together, and we had very similar ideas coming at different angles, and things started to align, like, hey, we may have something here that we could bring from a business perspective that we could build this thing, right? It's not that I hadn't tried that before, it just was different. So that was kind of the foundation of, hey, this other thing in my career might be changing at some point, but we don't know what it's going to be. So fast track to last year, I was actually at a Tech Field Day event with you and several others.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of talking to some folks, and what I was really doing was trying to understand what I really needed, what I was really trying to do, right? It was one of those things where you knew there was something there, you knew what you were trying to do, but you really didn't know exactly how to do it or when, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You have an idea in your head, but it's not fully formed.
Exactly.
And so talking to some other folks that may have been down similar paths or gone through a
Yep.
similar process helps you refine what's in your head.
Exactly. And that was what was happening is I had several conversations, and they weren't really in the context of, hey, I'm really trying to do this thing. It was more about exploring what, trying to formulate what was going on. And that was when one of the several of the conversations I had at that event were the things that were like, oh, I know where this is. I know where this is going. I just don't know the timing. And that thing was to actually formalize our business as a new thing that we wanted to do from the relationships that I developed, 2 or 3 years prior to that with some folks. And so fast forward to that, like I say, that event was the one where it was like, I get it. I understand. We have to do this thing. And ironically, we had actually anticipated doing this kind of launch into our own business, which is Aspec Core Services, is a company that we formed. We had actually tried, we were thinking about doing it earlier this year. And then, of course, we know the pandemic caused some things. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And then I guess 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks, say a month, about a month. Ironically, again, I was at another Tech Field Day event when I was like, it's the time.
Now's the time.
It was the time. So I went ahead and pulled the plug, and we kind of went with that, and here we are. So now we're a company.
Right. That's a big leap to go from gainfully employed by someone else to employing yourself. And now you're responsible for generating your own revenue and taking care of anybody who's part of your company. That's, yeah.
Yes.
So congratulations. That's
awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
The one thing I want to point out, and I think this is really important, is you met some people back in 2017. So 3 and some change years ago.
Yeah.
And you didn't know it at the time that those are the people you're going to start a company with. You were just forming a relationship, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then it just evolved over time. And then fast forward 2 years later, you're at an event and you're talking to some people and you're further drawing it out. But even then, you didn't start the business yet because you still had some planning and some thought to put into it. And it wasn't until a full year later that you actually launched the business once you felt everything was in the proper place. So I feel like, was that in your mind that you really needed to plan this out in a lot of detail, or were you waiting for something else?
It was planning, right? It was planning. And I say this all the time. It was a lot of, it was a lot of planning, and it was a lot of conversational planning is what it really, and things take time to formulate, right? And we're still in that infancy stage. But it was you see all of these conversations that were aligned, like either lining up certain individuals to have certain conversations at certain times that were relevant to what you were either trying to understand, down the road to kind of formulate everything. There was a lot of that. So it was a lot of things. It was a lot of methodically planning conversation.
Right.
Now it's like, did those work out? I don't know if that makes sense, but you're on you kind of know what I'm talking about. I think
It took me from when I decided that I was going to go out on my own, at least 9 months to actually do it. And I think in my head, I was actually planning to do it before then. It just took it actually was a conversation with Stephen Foskett that
Yeah,
finally
that was mine. Yeah.
crystallized it and said,
Yep.
"Oh, you're ready to go do this." It's
Yeah.
not a question now of if; it's a question of when do you get
When.
all your ducks in a row, and that's what I eventually did.
Yep.
Uh, but the other thing that I've realized, and I think you'll realize this as your business grows and changes, is the idea that you launch with is not necessarily going to be the exact idea that's successful.
Exactly. It's a
So,
thing, right? It's a
right.
thing. You have a position and you go with that and then things evolve, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I I'm curious what what your initial vision is for the
Okay.
company, and then, where do you see it going in the next, year or so? Because it's hard to
Sounds
go
good.
beyond that.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, that's a great question. And we're still trying to fine tune that message, right? Because, you talk to me now, I'm CTO at the company. We do have, our CROs, CTOs, CEOs. We've got a really formalized company and process around it. But if you were to really say, and I'm actually looking at my screen, I'm going to read what it says because what I say and what it says may not always align. I mean,
Right.
for whatever, right? But I'm going to say who we are, right? Is Aspec Core, and literally I'm going to read it just so bear with me. Aspec Core provides infrastructure, managed services, and advisory services for small to medium sized businesses focusing on application development. Infrastructure and security are also a part of that. We help clients accelerate value and maximize revenue while addressing the needs of their customers. So what I want to do real quick, and if I run out of time, please cut me off. I want to really clear what that means. What
Right.
we're saying there is what value we're bringing is the value of accelerating application delivery. What that means is let us manage or work with you to help bring you up to speed in managing infrastructure and cloud providers and AWS's, Azure, on premises, vSphere, things like that. Let us help you manage. Remember, everything we do is as code. That's our foundation. Everything we do is code, and taking that process from a software development lifecycle from an infrastructure all the way up to application delivery. So we work with our customers and we say, okay, hey, you've got, N number of developers. You want to be able to be agnostic from a perspective of going to different clouds. We have processes that can help you accelerate that. Let us bring the years of experience we have to the table so
Hmm.
you don't have to worry about it. And then what we really look at, and I'm kind of going off on another direction because I'm actually answering some of the other things as part of this conversation, is that we, at least I visualize like three different types of customers. They're customers that are either we don't have staff, we know where we want to get to, we want to do all these things in the cloud, and they don't know where to start. We can bring our advisory services and work with you, as a customer and
Hmm.
say what we call a dojo kind of model where we
Okay.
roll in and we actually work with you and handhold and try to build up that kind of core team
Hmm.
and kind of facilitate that process. Or we might have customers where they have two or three people. Hey, we're writing some code. We've got some repositories. We've got all these things, but we really don't know how to, we don't know how to manage all the constructs of providers and things like that. So we'll kind of go in and work with them and fine tune what they have currently, and then take them to the next level. And then we're going to have those customers who are like, you know what? All we care about is this application, and it just needs to be available. I don't care where it runs. It just needs to be accessible, and we're going to let you manage everything. And
Mm.
that is a customer that we would also facilitate where like, hey, we manage all the things. So summarizing, we're really an MSP
Right.
at that level, but we are positioned in a way from an MSP perspective, which I think is different, which our goal is not to keep you. So for example, Ned, you're one of our customers. Our goal is not to keep you forever. Our goal is to bring you up to speed and get you accelerated and be able to make you feel self-sufficient and be able to go with it from here on out. So that's the intent. Now, if you look at our foundation, the foundation of the company is innovation and R&D. Everything we do is based on innovation and R&D. So what we're doing is allowing us to take all of the innovation and R&D efforts that we put into business or into practice and be able to bring that to the customer. So we've got things that, so it'll be like release cycles. That'll be customers will basically be delivery. I mean, not delivery, but releases, right? What we learned from working with you and everything we've done in the last several months, you're going to benefit from, the next customer is going to benefit from, but also at the same time, we'll always push the needle forward and going to those previous customers and say, hey, these are the new functionality pieces that we can bring to the table. And we'll always be able to manipulate and bring that into the value that you already have. So we're always pushing. Does that make sense?
It does. That's one of the nice things about bringing consulting firms in is they see 100 different companies, whereas you just see your own. And so they bring that experience and that wealth of knowledge. And if you are laser focused on R&D and building up code and automated processes that are applicable to multiple organizations, that's great. That's part of the reason the cloud works so well is because it's based off of standards and a homogeneous environment and these services that are broadly applicable.
Well, absolutely. So anyway,
I think that's about all the time we have for
it's
today.
good.
But if we could summarize a little bit, it seems like your career advice would center around focusing on the people you meet and letting those relationships grow. Would that be pretty accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Technology is just the thing, right? The people that we learn, that we meet along the way, and those, those relationships you form, could be career changing. I mean, they really can be.
They can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man.
Just
if
like
people want to, if people want to find more about you, where should they go? Where should they look?
They can find me on Twitter at Mr. L.E. Smith Jr. on Twitter, or Aspec Core is at Aspec Core on Twitter as well. On the website, we're still trying to believe it or not, we're still trying to get our logo solidified. That's still one of those things. The logo is in the works. The website's still in the works, but it's aspeccore.com. And you can find out whatever you need from there. Feel free to reach out. Be glad to have a chat.
Awesome, man. I will put links down in the description. And hey, viewer, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? You never know. You might find some other content that you enjoy. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe out there. Bye for now.